Yeah, but I guess I think another area that we always kind of find ourselves like seeing is so we always hear about like burnout or things to that degree and how that kind of affects Japanese. And I mean, you mentioned how you go really hard at Japanese, and you had time periods where you've been going really hard until you were in New Zealand, and you had that time where you just didn't read or write for a year. I mean, not necessarily due to burnout or anything, I'm not sure, but would you say that any of those have like any experiences of burnout has ever affected you
Oh
across
my
your
God, yeah.
yeah?
Hell yeah. I burn out, like I said earlier in the podcast.
Right.
I tend to go really hard on whenever I become interested in anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Like if I find a new game I'm into, I'm not gonna sleep for a week. Well, not that bad, but like I'll play it hard, right? If I get interested in a new instrument or something, I'll play it really hard for a couple months, and then I get bored with it and I quit. Yuki, when I started YouTube at the very beginning, like I was like, I'm gonna do YouTube, and I bought $1,000 in equipment, or like I bought a camera and I bought this. She's like, I didn't have that much money at the time, but I was like, I'm gonna do it, and she's like, yeah, sure, of course you are, and she's in like 3 weeks he'll be bored with this, and I kept going, luckily. But with Japanese, so what was really important for me, it was the first thing I ever really stuck out, because I do have a tendency to burn out on whatever I get interested in pretty quickly. So it was really important to me, or what was a big factor in me not burning out right away, was finding sort of a schedule and ways of studying that I enjoyed. So, like, if I hadn't enjoyed what I was doing, I would have quit way earlier. But I still burned out. Even with that schedule and finding things I enjoyed doing to study Japanese, after the 2 years, I burned out hard. But where I got lucky is that I just happened to start a new job where I got to speak Japanese all day, every day. So, like, there was definitely some luck involved, because I was burned out on studying Japanese at the end of that 2 years, because that's all I did. Like if I went out to have a few drinks with some friends, like all I was capable of talking about was studying Japanese, because that was like my whole life. And like, that's fine if the people you're hanging out with are also studying Japanese, because you can talk for hours about that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But they weren't. So like, the people I was surrounded with, they weren't that interested in it, and that's all I was interested in. And it wore me down quite a bit, and I felt like I was becoming more boring every day. So like, by the end of that 2 years, I got the new job, and I just was like, I can't do it anymore. And yeah, but I just happened to have to use Japanese every day, which luckily pushed me through a lot further. So I think I see a lot of people coming in to study Japanese. Like, I'll see people jumping onto my Discord and stuff, and they'll be like, I've got 12 hours a day free for the next couple months. I'm going to get N1 by the end, in 6 months. I was like,
Yeah.
Good luck, guys. Like, that's a sure way to not get anywhere. Because it's important to sort of, at least for me, to like admit my limitations with that stuff, because if I do anything for 12 hours a day, I'm going to be bored as you know what within at the most a couple months. And if you burn out, like, it's not like it was a waste, but like, you could go so much further. The cliche is it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? For learning a language. Yeah. And it's a cliche for a reason. It's definitely true. Like, unless you really, really, really love what you're doing. Like, especially with the whole immersion thing coming out, and the fact that actually does work, which is amazing. Like, if you're really into the stuff you're immersing in, you're lucky, because I mean, that's awesome. You could literally just watch stuff and read stuff that you already love all day, every day, and get better. Like, yeah. Holy crap. If I had known about that, 9 years ago, crap. But to be fair, this is interesting, and a lot of people might not know this, is I don't love Japanese media. I'm not like super into it. I didn't come to Japan because I was really interested in Japan. Like, I knew nothing about Japan when I came here. I've come to be interested in like some anime and stuff since I've learned Japanese. Before I started, like, I had zero interest. So I'm not sure it would have worked for me, just because like at the time, because I feel like I couldn't have stuck it out. Like I wasn't interested enough in the content to. So if you are into the content that is available to you in whatever language you're learning, I'm assuming Japanese if you're listening to this, man, you are the luckiest person on the planet because you can kill it. But if you're not, yeah, maybe you need to learn a different language.
Yeah.
I lived here, so that was a huge thing. Like I just wanted to be able to talk to people. I wanted to date here, things like that, right?
Right.
So that was my motivation. So like if you don't have an environment or you're not super interested in the culture or the content, it can be pretty difficult to not burn out. And I see a lot of people who aren't really that interested. They're just like, they have this inkling of what they think Japan is, and they're like, I want to go there someday, so I'm going to spend 12 hours a day studying. No, you're not. You're definitely not going to do that. You might for a week. But yeah, so finding a schedule and stuff is really, really important for not burning out. And keeping in mind that you probably still will, so sort of having a backup plan.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's some really valuable advice to a lot of people, especially the Japanese learners who are kind of just getting into it while listening to this podcast, especially because you mentioned, like, we've seen it as well. A lot of people just kind of go dive head first and like, I'm going to go super hard. And then you see them.
We have interviewed those outliers, though, that's go
true.
super hard and they just still are going like full speed.
Some people, man, are just machines.
Yeah.
Like, and once again, more power to those guys. I'm not. Some people are, man. Some people are, but they tend to know that they are. So like those guys and girls, they know that they are into that they want to go those 12 hours a day and that they're gonna enjoy it and stuff like that. And like they are the, like you put it, the outliers, right? The average person who's never done something like that, they're not gonna enjoy it. If you've never done something like that, chances are you're probably not going to enjoy it. But it doesn't mean don't try. Like you can give it a shot, but there are other ways. Like you don't have to do it that way. But if you can, great. I wish I could. I wish I could be interested in anything for that amount of time. But
the magic powers. But
no, for real.
Yeah.